Hi everyone, my name's Jordan and welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to do a if you liked this, read this video. So basically I will give you a popular book that a lot of people have read and tell you a book I feel like has similar vibes and that you should read as well. This is going to be all fantasy. This is a fantasy edition, so let's get into it. The first popular book / series is going to be A Game of Thrones, A Song of Ice and Fire. I actually don't own the first one. I own the rest of them. I don't know why I don't own the first one. I thought I did, but anyway. I didn't love this series. I didn't hate it. Sorry, Kyle. I thought it was kind of overrated, but I understand the hype, I guess. But anyway, this series is very political, very cutthroat, and very magical. And so I think if you liked this series, you would like the Greenbone Saga by Fonda Lee. The Greenbone Saga is also very political and very magical. It gives me very similar vibes. So I've talked about the Greenbone Saga in a few other videos, including my favorite fantasy series of all time, which I will link above. But basically this series follows a family that lives in this isolated country where they have a lot of jade, like the stone jade, and it gives some people magical powers such as increased speed, increased perception, increased strength, etc. And there are these two main political clans basically that influence the government in this country, and we follow one of the families, the Call family. And the story is just really like an expansive story spanning like 30 years or something, maybe more. I don't remember the exact timeline, but it spans a very long time following this family and this slow war they're in with the other family. And Fonda Lee does not pull punches. One of the things a lot of people talk about in A Song of Ice and Fire is how George R.R. Martin just like kills off main characters and how ruthless the story is, and I feel like the Greenbone Saga is similar. I will say better at it. Again, sorry, Kyle. I feel like Fonda Lee makes it more intentional, while I feel like sometimes in A Song of Ice and Fire, it was just more for shock value. But I feel like Fonda Lee does a really masterful job of making this story really cutthroat and making you really care for these characters. I feel like in the Game of Thrones series, I was just constantly like I was just not allowing myself to get attached to characters because like everyone was dying, and it just stopped having a big impact on me. While as in the Greenbone Saga, every time somebody died, it was like very intentional. But also the magic is really great. The politics are fun to follow. I think it's a really great series. I've talked about Jade Legacy, the last one, being the best ending to a series I've ever read, and I still stand by that, even after reading the Live Ship Traders trilogy, which I absolutely loved. I still feel like the Greenbone Saga has the best ending to a series I've ever read. So I definitely recommend the Greenbone Saga. The next popular series is Six of Crows. This is a YA fantasy heist novel. It's a duology, and very, very popular. There's an adaptation, Shadow and Bone, on Netflix. The first series is great, and I love this series. Basically, it's a group of teens, all with different abilities, that pull off insane heists. And a series I think that has similar vibes is The Lies of Locke Lamora, the Gentleman Bastard series. I've also talked about this series in a lot of other videos. I really love this series. It is adult fantasy, so it reads a little older than Six of Crows, but it is also heist novel, or a heist series. It is about a group of orphans that are taken in by this like religious sect that trains them to be master thieves and con artists. And it is so cleverly written. All of the heists are incredibly well thought out, and all of the characters you grow to love so much. I think that the relationship between Locke and Jean is one of like the best friendships in fantasy. So definitely give this a try if you like heist novels. The second book also has a lot of like ship stuff, like they're on a ship for a long time. So if you like that kind of vibe, go for that. So very good series. Waiting for that fourth book, like we all are. Don't know if it'll ever happen, but Very good series. The next popular series is the Stormlight Archive. My first book is currently being borrowed by a friend. So here's the second one. I don't know why I got the mass market paperbacks. I think it's because I was broke when I was reading them, but they are impossible to hold. This one's a little worn now from reading it, but they're impossible to hold. Anyway, this is a hugely popular series by Brandon Sanderson. It's his like main Cosmere series. They are adult fantasy, they are chunky, they are epic, they are very involved, long timelines, the pinnacle of epic fantasy. Just epic scale, epic stories. The series I think you should read if you like Stormlight is the 5th season by N.K. Jemisin. This is also a pretty well-known series, but I feel like less people have read it than the Stormlight Archive. While this series is also pretty epic in terms of plot, they're not nearly as big. There's only 3. They're all about this size. So the word count isn't as epic. However, I feel like the setting is very similar to Stormlight. It's kind of this like barren world where there are a lot of environmental disasters that are happening all the time. There's a lot of magic. There's a lot of unknowns. You follow multiple timelines, multiple characters. I just think both stories are so good. And if you like Stormlight, you'll definitely like this. Very similar vibes, but also at the same time, very different stories. But N.K. Jemisin is a master. Each of the books in this series all won Hugo Awards, well deserved. So if that doesn't tell you how good they are, I don't know what will. Definitely pick up the 5th season if you haven't, and especially if you liked the Stormlight Archive, I think you will also like this story. Next popular series is Mistborn, another Brandon Sanderson series, his other big name series. This series has a very hard magic system and a very like scientific magic system. Basically, different metals that you swallow give you different powers, and most people can only use one metal. The other ones have no effect. And then there are very rare people called Mistborn that can use all the metals. And it is also a very epic tale. But I think if you really liked the Mistborn series, you would also like the Bone Shard Daughter series. This is one of my new favorite series. It's not done yet. The 3rd one, I believe, comes out. I don't think we have a release date actually for the 3rd one. But this series also has a very hard magic system that also is very scientific. So in this story, there are these bone shards that this emperor collects from the citizens in his country. And basically, if you take these bone shards and you write on them like instructions, basically, you can insert them into constructs, and those constructs will do what is written on the bone shards. And it follows this emperor's daughter as she tries to remember her past because she has a large blank part of her memory, while also trying to learn this bone shard magic. And the 2nd book just kind of like grew in scale and got so good. But I definitely feel like the magic system reminded me a lot of Mistborn, even though they're very different magic systems, very different characters, very different plots. I feel like they still had very hard scientific magic systems. I will say both of them are kind of about like toppling a corrupt government, so that's another way they're similar, but in very different ways. So it might have been more of a stretch than the other. I'm just trying to get everyone to read this book. But if you like a hard magic system, if you like toppling tyrannical governments, check this one out. Very, very good book. Next up, I have Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. Most people that like YA fantasy have read this series. This used to be one of my favorite series of all time. I've kind of grown a little out of Sarah J. Maas just because I've been more educated on some of the problematic themes she has in her books. It's about an assassin who ends up doing this tournament to see if she will work for the king, and there's like 7-8 books or something, and it's like the scope of the story grows immensely each book. I think if you liked this series, you would also like the Davabad series, starting with the City of Brass. The Davabad series is adult fantasy, while Throne of Glass is YA fantasy. But I feel like some of the consistent themes that we see in YA fantasy are also used in the Davabad trilogy, with just some more adult themes. The world is extremely magical. There's like different romances throughout. A lot of adult fantasy kind of shies away from romance, I feel like. And I feel like the Dabbabad series really does a good job of bringing in romance, but also keeping the book very interesting and not just being romantic. There's nothing wrong with fantasy romance at all, like books that do focus more on fantasy. But I know for a lot of adult fantasy readers, they aren't really looking for romance, and I think this book does a good job of balancing that out. I think that just some of the setting is definitely very different, but I feel like some of the themes used are very similar, and some of the prose feels very similar. I love the Dabbabad series. I think it's one of my favorite series of all time. The third book is incredible. I love the last book of series. I just always cry at the end of a series, this one being no exception. So definitely check out this series if you like Throne of Glass, or if you just like adult fantasy. It is very unique in the adult fantasy realm, I feel like. It is not like medieval fantasy. It starts in Egypt, in Cairo, and then goes to this magical city of brass. So I feel like it is very different from a lot of fantasy that is out there in the adult fantasy realm. So give this one a chance. I think it's great. Another popular series that everyone is talking about, especially right now because the second one just came out, is Shadow of the Gods, the Bloodsworn saga. This book is based on Norse mythology and is about a bunch of dead gods that have all of these offspring. All of these offspring are now considered tainted and made slaves. Follows a whole host of characters as they live in this world. There's a lot of revenge plots, and there's a lot of battle scenes. It's very bloody, very graphic, very good. I'm currently reading the second one and obsessed with it. I mentioned a lot that the Shadow of the Gods I felt like I didn't love as much as everyone else did. I thought it was good, I just didn't get the hype, but this second one is totally living up to the hype, and I love it. But anyway, if you like Shadow of the Gods, I think you should read The Rage of Dragons. This is a series by Evan Winter. The first two are out. The Rage of Dragons and where is it? The Fires of Vengeance. So this series also has dragons in it. Already it's a win. Any book with dragons is guaranteed to be good. Not really, but this also has the main plot being a revenge plot. So, very similar themes. There's also so many battle scenes. There's constantly fighting. You also get a lot to do with deities and demons and things like that, which you also see in the Shadow of the Gods. So just very similar themes overall. The setting is very different because Shadow of the Gods is Norse inspired and Rage of Dragons is set in a much more desolate landscape. But still very good, very similar themes. I see more people talking about Shadow of the Gods than Rage of Dragons. Rage of Dragons, I feel like you either love it or you hate it. Because the main plot is revenge focused, some people think it's boring because you're just following this kid as he tries to get his revenge for his dead father. I loved it though. I thought the magic was dope, especially as you learn more of it in the second book. But also I didn't mind that he was so single-minded because you kind of get to see that growth, and I just think they're great books. Also, Shadow of the Gods and Rage of Dragons are both Orbit, so wonderful floppy paperback. So yeah, that's great. Very excited for the third one of this to come out. I don't think there's a release date for it yet, which breaks my heart, but very excited for the third one of this. And last but not least, I have An Ember in the Ashes by Sabaa Tahir. This is a very well-known YA fantasy series. I believe this is inspired by the Roman Empire, if I'm not mistaken. I could be totally wrong. I think that's true. I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong, please. But it has romance, it has magic, it has drama. It follows this man who is one of the finest soldiers in this school, and this girl whose family was all killed, and she has to go work in this school where all of these soldiers are being trained to basically keep killing people like her. And there's romance that follows, as well as them trying to protect their empire. And a book I think that is similar is We Hunt the Flame by Hafsa Faizal. This book definitely has similar themes. It follows a prince who has a despotic father, who sends him to go find this relic out in this like dark sea, and a woman in a small village who dresses as a man to go into this dark sea to hunt, then is also sent out to go find this relic, and they stumble into each other and must work together, and a romance ensues. So definitely very similar plots, but very different settings. This one is set more so in like a desert vibe. It's Arabic inspired, and the other one, I believe, like I said, I think is ancient Rome inspired, like Roman Empire. So different settings for sure, but I feel like they have very similar themes, very similar plots, and both are very good. I love both of these series so much. I talk about this series a lot because I feel like no one talks about it, and it should be talked about more. It is so good. So if you liked An Ember in the Ashes, I think you should definitely read We Hunt the Flame. There's only 2 of them. They're not super long, so give it a shot. Like, at least read the first one, see if you like it. And that is the end of this video. Please let me know if you have read any of these series that I feel like are a little lesser known. Some of them are definitely still pretty well known, but I feel like a lot of them are underrated compared to some of the huge series that are well known. Also, comment down below with a series you think I should read based off of these books. If there's a series here that you think you know another series that is similar, let me know, because I'm always looking for more recs. My TBR is never too long. I will just keep adding to it without hesitation. Thank you guys for watching. As always, your support means the world to me. Like, comment, and subscribe if you liked this video, and hit the notification bell if you would like to be notified every time I post a new video. I post videos every Thursday and Sunday, so thank you guys. Until next time.